pressure of winning medal, how much that can cause trouble in the archer's mind?
If you see the interview of Abhinav Bindra, a very beautiful thing he said. When he went for his second Olympics, he missed out.
Right.
Then he says, I realized one thing, that I needed to detach from the outcome. Most of the 90% of the sports person are not able to detach themselves from the outcome of a medal, a score. They are thinking about the future. So you have not even won a medal and you are thinking about it. So you have to detach yourself. Medal can only come if you do process.
Welcome to House of Glory, the sports podcast powered by Nikon India. Behind the scenes, beyond the game. In association with the Times of India. And I'm your host Tushar Dutt, taking you to a journey of Indian athletes and of those who make champions. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of House of Glory, the sports podcast. Today we have Mr. Sanjeeva Singh, who is the high performance director of the Indian archery team. He has been an Arjuna Awardee, a Dronacharya Awardee, and on top of it, he is a qualified engineer and a double MBA degree holder. We welcome you to the House of Glory, the sports podcast, sir.
Thank you.
You have done a lot in the field of archery. You have been here for 42 years as a player, as a coach, as an administrator. How do you look at your journey so far?
Well, it's interesting. Let me tell you that when I started in 1981, luckily archery got started in UP, and the principal of my school became the president of the UP Archery Association, and the sports teacher became the coach. And when it started, I was just the house captain that time. And because of the house matches, I had to conduct the matches. I got involved in this. I was basically an athlete, a long jumper, a triple jumper, as well as a 100-meter distance runner. And when I started this archery, in the year 1982, that was a turning point when I got a chance. They were looking for people from all over India who could be as volunteers for the 1982 Asian Games.
All right.
So as a school captain, I felt I got a chance. My principal told me, why don't you go there? They are looking for volunteers. Can you go there? And I was posted in archery. Okay. Now, that was something of a coincidence that I just got posted in archery field. And I went there nearly a month ago. So basically, all the teams started coming in, the Japanese, Chinese, Korean. They came in 15 days in advance. And I was there in the field as a field official, helping them with all the facilities there. So in those 15 days when I was watching them, then I found that what is so great about them? They are the best. But what is so great? Because in mythology, India was one of the best.
Absolutely.
For me, it was something very curious. So I started observing these archers in action, started talking to the coaches, the archers, making friendship with them, and started learning the intricacies of archery. Then I got a chance to go for the opening ceremony. At that time, for a student of class 11, it's a very big thing. Okay, you're going to get a chance to see the opening ceremony. So that day we came early. We moved in early. We were in the front benches. And when the entire squad walked in and the entire applaud took place, that day just a feeling kept in my mind. When I saw Maharaja Karni Singh walking with the Indian flag, can I carry this flag one day? Now, that was a dream I took back with me, back to my school, back to whatever I learned from the Asian Games. And my uncle was coming back from London, and I told him, he said, can I get you something? I said, uncle, can you get me a bow from there? Okay. So that was my tryst with destiny, that I started my archery after the 82 Asian Games, when actually my uncle brought the bow and I started learning archery on my own. So we had heard about Eklav, and that time there was no coach in UP. There was nobody to teach me. I used to go through books on archery, whatever. There was one book on archery, and that was on one chapter in the entire sports library. Okay. And I went through it 10 times just to learn what it is, and whatever I had learned from the Korean, Japanese, Chinese, I started practicing. Within a span of 2 years, 1984, I became the junior national champion. 1985, I went on to become the national games champion. And in 86, I was the captain of the Indian team for the 86 Asian Games, carried the flag for my archery. So that was my tryst with destiny.
A very interesting journey from a volunteer in 82 to the captain of the Indian team in 86. In just 4 years, what do you think, other than the tryst with the destiny, what do you think went in your favor when it comes to playing the sport, knowing the sport, and also understanding the sport?
See, 3 things. The first is your parental background. For me, my father was, he was a patient. He was a patient of myasthenia gravis. That time he was the third patient in the India. That was in 1960s. And he went abroad on a ship, got himself cured, but then he became a lifelong patient. So he always wanted, and he used to write to us when I was in class 2. Talk about big people, big stories. He used to write to us, and that was a thing which kept in a mind that he said, ki, don't become only a good student or a good player. I want you to become an all-rounder.
Right.
But that was something which was ingrained in all our family members' mind, that we have to become all-rounders. So that is something which was there in our back of mind. So to propel us, so he actually propelled us into becoming all-rounders. So we were good in studies, we were good in sports. So that was the first thing. The second thing is I got a chance to do my engineering. So being an engineer, I could understand the science behind archery.
Right.
So that was the second point. And the third thing is your passion. The dream which started when I saw the Maharaja Karni Singh entering the flag, and that, can I take this flag? Can I win that medal for the country? That was the third thing.
No doubt you carried all these three things with you, and 2 years later you participated in your first Olympics, that is in 1988 Seoul Games. How was it? Because it's never easy to dream for something and then do it within a short span of time. How was it?
I think so. The first Olympic was something which we was aspiring, I'll say, because what happened was it was my first Olympics, and obviously I was nervous. Let me admit it. And obviously I could not do much. We were sixth there, and we could not win the Olympics. So that was a setback for us. We could not do so well there. And that is the time that actually India started rising in archery, because for the first time the government of India started a scheme known as the Special Era Game Scheme, where the tribal talent came in, whether it was Limbaram, Shyamlal, Dulchand Damor, Skaldang Dorji. And that is the time that the first Indian team actually started getting exposure.
Right.
Because of the SAG scheme. And then we started participating in tournaments. So initially period, we didn't have tournament, one tournament a year. We used to get one national championship a year. Now in 2 tournaments, you cannot win a medal.
Absolutely.
That was the thing. So therefore, after the 88 Olympics, the government with the SAG scheme started exposing us to tournaments.
You said engineering helped you understand the science behind archery. Tell us about the science that you feel is important for all archers to understand and even practice.
See, today, if you look at, we'll come to it later when we talk about the future of archery and where we are today. Archery is a science. Any sport is a science, but understanding the science is very important, because if you look at the world over, the world is 20 years ahead in science compared to India.
Right.
India sports science is just in the infancy, I'll say. So when I did my engineering, then I started, basically archery is all about physics. It's the trajectory movement.
Absolutely.
It's the forces in action. So basically the Newton's laws comes in. So I could understand the trajectory. I could understand the dynamics of the various materials which you're using inside the bow, which is helping you to dampen the shock, the vibrations which are there, which alloy is getting to be better for it. So for me, understanding of the bow became easy.
Right.
Understanding of the trajectory became easy. Understanding of the dynamics, because it's all about push and pull. So when you're pushing the bow, there's an equal and opposite reaction at each of the joints.
Okay.
So I could understand what is the forces coming into play.
Right.
What should be the structure of an archer when you're selecting an archer, because what that structure will give you 100% efficiency, the T-stance. So that is the time we coined this word of a T-stance came in, because of my knowledge of engineering, I started putting it into, when I started the academy in 96, after the Atlanta Olympics, when I realized that I could not win the medal, and I was the coach of the national team then. Then I realized that if I have to win a medal, I needed to have players of equal stature, equal thinking, because we were from diverse background.
Right.
So at times you don't gel. But when you have people with a separate mindset, with a clear what to be done, not different techniques, then chances of winning a medal becomes more. So that is the time that I came back after the Atlanta Olympics and wrote to my managing director of Tata Steel, Dr. Jamshed J. Irani, sir, you are in a state of Jharkhand. That time it was Bihar. Jharkhand tribal archery is a tribal sport. Can I take this tribal sport and create something out of it, world champion? He liked the idea. He said, nobody has thought about it. Can you train tribal archers into world champion? With that thought, we started the academy on 4th October 1996. That was the first corporate sponsored academy in archery in the world that time. And 96, we started the journey. And I told him it will take me at least 8 years to come to the world level. But within 4 years, we started winning medals. So all the archers from Reena Kumari, Shekbari Solu, Dola Banerjee, all of that started coming up. And then the archers started winning medals at the Cadet World Championship, at the Youth World Championship, at the senior level. And from 2000 onwards, we were winning all across.
How did you conduct the trials? How did you select the archers? Obviously, there is a lot of talent in the tribals of our country, especially in archery and hockey. What was your criteria of selecting the archers? I mean, or even today, when you select an archer, when you conduct a trial, what are the things that you focus on in an archer, or what are the requirements that you feel an archer should have?
See, there are 3 things very important for archery. The first is about a T stance. T stance is nothing. You are making a T, T. So what happens when I pull the elbow here, my line, the force arrow is pushing into the target. So my elbow has to be in line with the arrow.
Okay.
So if you look at all the top archers across the world, they have a beautiful T stance. The more angle I'm making, upward, downward, lateral. So what is happening? The forces are getting divided to F cos theta, F sin theta.
Okay.
So if my elbow is in line with the arrow, I'm getting 100% force behind the shot. So I started looking at archers who had a perfect elbow line. So that is known as a T stance. So I coined the T stance. Can we do, whenever you're looking at an archer, first thing is look at that. Then I started looking at his heartbeat, because for me it was very important that his heartbeat is low, because in archery anxiety plays a way. If you have tremors in your body, if you are having anxiety, your heart rate is raising, then you cannot shoot a tight shot. Archery is about push and pull. You have to have pushing into the bow. You have to pulling from your back muscles. So they have to be 50% both the sides. So if you are under tremor, then you'll never be able to get a tight shot. And that is, the heartbeat is very, very important for us. So we started looking at that. The face is very important, because you need to get a solid anchor.
Right.
Because if you don't have a solid anchor, you cannot shoot a shot. So therefore the angle of your face, so I started looking at that. So therefore we coined the entire technique. So what we did was we started looking at parameters which can help an archer. So what we did was we looked at his stance, his anchor position, his release, his follow through. So when we put points there, marks there for them.
Okay.
So what I used to do, I used to bring from all over India archers into the Tata Academy. 50 days or nearly 30 days, I used to take 50 archers and observe them over a period of a month.
All right.
In discipline, does he have the discipline? Does he have the dedication? Does he have the devotion? Because if he doesn't have that, he cannot gel. Okay. So 1 month I used to watch and reduce from 50, come back to only 12 archers. And these 12 archers used to be there for me for 4 years. But we were very strict in terms of training. I had put a milestone that first year will be 1,000, then 1,100, 1,200 and 1,300. So 1,300 was the benchmark at the 4th year. If you could not meet my benchmark, I used to say, sorry, you can't be with me. So therefore, I started with 16 archers. I ended with 4 archers after 4 years. But these 4 archers were the national champions. They were winning medals at the international level. So anybody coming into my academy was assured of winning a medal at the international level. That was the thing we did. But then I was losing people. I used to feel very bad. I have training people and today I have to tell them to go. So I used to feel bad. What will they do? And that is the time when in 2003, I got a chance to go for the world championship as a national coach. And that was the first time in the history of archery that both the men team stood 4th and the women team stood 6th. And in the New York Times, it came out, the Dark Horse India Rises. Okay. Because that was the first time we qualified completely. And that is the time I saw compound archery for the first time. And I found that this is a game which is very good for India. Because for 2 things. One, we were short in height. Indians are short in height compared to the world. Right. Secondly, I had archers who were leaving. Can I take them into compound? So I brought the compound bow in India in 2003. Okay. And I started training myself on compound archery for 1 year. And in 2004, I got the top coach from the world to come and do a seminar on compound. And then I started training all over the people. I used to encourage people to come in. And that is where resources makes a difference.
So prior to 2003, we didn't have compound, we didn't have any introduction to compound archery at all.
No. 2003 was the first year when I bought the compound bow. 1 year I trained myself. Then I started coaching archers across India, started forming the Indian team. There were no takers. my association said, why are you doing compound? You're not even winning an Olympic medal in recurve. Why are you bringing compound? And I said, no, this is a game where India will do very well because it is a fair play. It creates a ground level position because anybody across the world can maximum shoot a 60 pound.
Right.
Indians, short and height, the takeoff was 20%, 40%. So I could still shoot a 40 poundage. So for me, a smaller or a taller, both are equal.
All right.
So that created a level playing field. So when 2003, 2004 I started, I became the national champion in compound, started learning, started taking the team abroad, started winning medals. Then after we started winning medals, and finally in 2005 and 6 May, we started winning the first world champion, the tribal world champion. Paltan Hansda became the world champion. Jhanu Hansda became the Asian champion. That time Jharkhand came on the world map. That is what I had promised to them. It came on the world map. Then India started recognizing, yes, compound is a sport. And from 2006, then came Abhishek Verma, Namita Yadav. They came in, and 2006-07, we became the junior Asian champions.
Right.
Just in a span of 4 years. And then we never looked back because then people started helping us, sponsoring us. Initially, it was Tata Steel. Through its various suppliers, they helped me, and we were able to procure the bows, get the team ready. Then the various states started adopting archery, and today we are the world number 1.
So can a person who has started from compound archery can shift to a recurve later on?
Of course. See, a recurve can shift easily to compound because he knows the basics.
Right.
And it's much easier for him to shoot a compound. So many of the recurve archers are now shifting to compound and becoming world level players. So many of the archers are doing it because they try their luck at recurve. They cannot make it. Shift to compound. That's what happened. All my archers who were leaving, whom I had to tell them to go, we brought them back into archery. And that is why India started doing very well in compound. Because I already had trained archers who had already reached the level. It was just switching. And that switch helped them. And they started winning at the junior level, senior level. And that's why we are world number 1 in women and world number 2 in the men.
So that can be a reason that introduction of compound also maybe propelled you to be an archer again. You started coaching in 1996. You retired from competition from the recurve events. In 2003, you learned archery, and in 2004, you started participating in tournaments again. How was it to participate as an archer again when you were the coach of the Indian team?
Yeah, so that is what I'm saying. I started compound archery when I was 38 years old.
Right.
And I continued to play till 42 years old. So there's no age. That is today, if you see Abhishek Verma, he's now 36, 38. And he's still playing. So I took him to the Asian Championship in 2006.
Right.
And from 2006 to 2024, it's nearly 18 hours journey. And he's still playing and he's still winning medals. So compound archery is one sport. Once you develop the technique, you can play till a longer time compared to recurve. Because here, poundage decreases. Because I'm actually using a 30 pounded and actually shooting a 60 pound peak bow. That is the biggest advantage, that with the aging, you can still play compound. So compound is becoming more and more popular now. And that's many times I get a setback also because people tell me, you introduce compound and now all the archers are shifting to compound. I say, while the archers are shifting, but it's still not an Olympic sport. Still the Olympic craze is there.
Absolutely.
And we are doing a lot of structural changes. And therefore, if you look at what government is doing, what the AI has done, if you look at the last 4 years, 3 areas we are working on today to make to Olympic so that we win the Olympic medal. The first thing is creating infrastructure.
Right.
At the National Center for Excellence at Sonepat, we are creating a world-class infrastructure. That is helping you to create, because if you don't have a world-class infrastructure, you can't win medals, because that's what the Korea has done. That's all the top countries. So we have now a world-class center at National Center for Excellence Sonepat, and various National Center for Excellences we have developed.
Right.
That is infrastructure. Coming to the domestic structure, we have started creating tournaments. So initially there was 1 tournament to 2 tournaments. Now I have 18 tournaments a year. I have created zonal competitions, city-centric competitions, national ranking tournaments for national championship, national games. So now the whole Indian calendar is choco-full. Every month we are having 1 tournament or the. So that is giving competition. Talent pipeline is getting developed. So I'm creating a domestic sector. In the international, the government of India is exposing us to all the international World Cup and Asia Cup. The World Cup, the Indian team is going. The Asia Cup, the junior team is going. So my junior talent pipeline is coming up. So domestic structure created, international structure created, infrastructure created, and then we moved into sports science. And now we're creating the sports science setup now.
Right.
So we are at the National Center of Excellence, Sonipat. We are getting the first high performance center, having all the latest sports science tools and tackles, so that I can do an MRI of an archer.
Okay.
Now, what do you mean by MRI of an archer? By MRI of an archer means just as I go to a doctor and when he does an MRI, I can tell me, okay, this is the problem you're having.
Right.
So in the MRI of an archer, what I'll do, I'll look at his how he's standing. So I have a force platform to check that.
Okay.
So am I looking at his heart rate? So I'm putting his monitoring his heart rate. I'm measuring his brain waves. What is his brain wave situation when he's shooting arrows? I'm doing a complete video analysis to show how within the 3D angle, how exactly his bow hand is moving. I have the dartfish analysis, which is showing me his elbow. So because when you look at science of archery,
Right.
your elbow, your release, and your bow jump, they have to be coordinated. If they are coordinated, that is the time you get an arrow into the X. So now that technology has come that with the dartfish analysis, I can actually blow up and show to the archer, okay, this is how you are. You are thinking you're pushing, but actually your elbow is not moving.
Right.
You're opening your release. So to that extent, I'm able to do the analysis now. The video analysis come in. We are doing the dartfish analysis with him. I'm checking his arrows, the speed of the arrows, the strength. That also I'm checking with the chronograph. So all these instruments have come in now, which I'm able to analyze his entire body, the forces acting on it, the angles acting on it, the brain wave, heart rate, feet, so that stability position. So I can actually diagnose now and tell you that these are the areas which you need to improve.
The pressure of winning medal, how much that can cause trouble in the archer's mind. We have seen that in shooting. Shooting and archery somewhere are similar sport. It is more of a mental strength than of skills and physical strength. If you go with the mindset of not winning the medal, but to do your best and to follow the process and focus on the basic things that you do while shooting, while playing the sport, how much do you think winning a medal brings a lot of pressure on the archer's mind, and how much have we been able to shed that pressure away?
See, if you look at the Olympics, last 3 Olympics, whether it's London, or whether it's Rio, whether it's Tokyo, it was the pressure, it was the anxiety, it was the tension which did not make us win the medal. If you look at the Tokyo Olympics, World Archery for the first time put in the infrared scanners,
Right.
and it could read my heart rate. Atanu Das and Deepka's heart rate had raised to 140 and 145
While shooting.
So you can make it. If I'm traveling inside, you cannot appear, but inward my heart rate has gone up. So my tremors inside the nerves, it's already tremors are there. I will never get a perfect shot.
Right.
Never. And that's what happened. We lost. What has changed? Archers were not concentrating on the physical fitness to that extent. That has changed. Today, my men team is strong. They are running 5 to 10 kilometers every day.
Okay.
Because they want to reduce their heart rate. Because that's the only way to get the heart rate under control.
Yeah.
So we started running, we're doing exercises. So we are now very much into the physical fitness. That is helping all the Indian archers to reduce their heart rate. So if you look at current heart rate, when we are training, our heart rate is ranging from 110 to 115 to maximum 120. So I'm trying to control that heart rate by creating more of competitions. One, giving external exposure, podium finishes. So what has happened is we are now putting them under the podium, but focusing on the relaxation, focusing on how do you relax yourself. So therefore, when they are on the podium, they are more relaxed. And therefore, when they're more relaxed, they're shooting more better. They are into the process and they are winning medals. That is what is going to change here.
When you say that heart rates increases, how much is it physical? Because when you lift a bow and when you shoot, there is some physical physicality involved in that. But how much is it physical and how much is it mental?
See, 20% is physical.
Okay.
So if I'm at 80, going to 96, going to 100 is physical because you are doing an activity.
Right.
The moment I start thinking, about a medal, about a score, about performing, that is the time my anxiety starts rising, arousal starts happening. Little bit of arousal is good because you need to pump it because you need to be ready. So that's good. So 100 to 105, 110 is okay. But the moment it starts jumping up, that means my focus is shifting from inward to outward. I cannot let my focus shift. Focus has to be very clear. This is what I've come here. This is what I'm going to do. And my focus is on my shot. So the more I focus on the shot, the more I'm going to shoot 10. That is what the Koreans do. You know, when the Koreans shoot and they lose to us in the first round, whether it was the Asian Games, they come back with a vengeance to do 150%. It's not that they are better than me.
Right.
But then they start focusing 150 on they just go and bang, they start shooting. More on the process. The more they shoot on the process, the chances of converting a 9 into a 10 becomes higher.
Right.
So because of the process change, they are actually trying to shoot more of process. And in that process, what happens, out of the 6 arrows, they tend to shoot 5 arrows into the 10 and they got a 59 and they win. They know it because they change that. Now we also know it. So that is the focus we want to do.
Right.
Don't let caution, because the moment you become cautious, you will take time. The moment you take time, gone. One arrow can make all the difference.
From 82, when you were a volunteer, 1988, you were an Olympian, 96, you became a coach, and now the HPD. How have things changed, and how has your perspective towards the sport has changed?
See, when in 1982, when I was a volunteer, it was all about absorbing.
Right.
So I was just trying to learn. I had no clue about sports at that level, you know. So I was just learning from when I went into volunteer, I was just absorbing what the Koreans were doing, what the Chinese were doing. But it was just a assimilation of whatever I could gather from them. So I was only at 20% of whatever I could do.
It was just an observation that you
Observations. I was observing them, learning from them what to be done, but I didn't know the science behind everything.
Right.
So the basics I didn't know. I completed my engineering. I started learning the science of archery, but then I didn't still know the technique. When I started playing, I started learning about the technique, and I made mistakes because there was nobody because that time India was not at that level that the coaches could coach me to that standard. So there was a lot of gaps which were there as a player when I was playing. When I became the coach in 96 Olympics, that is the time I realized that I started. So from 20%, it became 40% when I was a player. From the player, when I went into the coach in the 96 Atlanta Olympics, it was 60%. But then there was another 40% gap happening. That 20% during my coaching days, as I went and set up the Tata Archery Academy, then I went on to set up the Shrine Board Archery Academy. And today, you know, the para archers, whether it's Sheetal Devi, whether it's Sarita, whether it's Rakesh, all coming from the Jammu Kashmir Shrine Board Center. So that is there. I started applying the principles, whatever I learned, into the coaching, into the academies, and therefore I became 80%.
Right.
Now in the last 4 years as an HPD, that 80% today I can say I'm at 100%. Because when I'm now putting, you see, you may have knowledge, but the knowledge has to be put into practice.
Right.
When you put into practice, you learn.
Right.
So what happened was in the last 4 years, the structural changes which we are doing with the help of SAI, with the help of the association, which we are able to implement, that is bearing fruits. And that is the game changer. So implementing is what gives you that confidence that yes, this is the right approach. You make mistakes, you learn. You make mistakes, you learn. So that 20% which was lacking has come. So now I can say, with 100% surety, if given a chance now, I can produce Olympic champions, world champions within a 4-year span because I know what to be done. So I have the tools,
right?
I have the tackles. As I said, there was no sports science. So without sports science, the 20% was lacking. That sports science knowledge has only come in the last 4 years.
Right.
So even now we are learning. I'm not saying we are 100%. We are still learning. So that 100% has to be put into continuous practice. And then, but that we are putting it in with the world-class infrastructure in place. So that is happening. So therefore, 20 became 40, became 60, became 80, and became 100. Right. So the journey from a volunteer to a player, to a coach, to setting up academies administrator, and finally, as a high-performing director within the team, the 5 stages. Luckily, I could go through all the 5 stages. So in my 42 years, now I can say I know 100%.
how do you think Indians approach Olympics, and what should be changed? And if there is anything that you can tell us about it, maybe some story that you have to share, it'll be very educative for us.
See, again, the thing is, it's a very interesting thing which happened to us in the Barcelona Olympics. Limba, was the number one. He was second in the rank on this. But then their education comes in. So while he was second in the world in the qualification round, the very next he had to play the elimination matches and he lost out. He started changing his knocking point and others. See, when you shoot well with a bow, you check everything. It's important to check.
Right.
You don't keep changing. Now, he had always this thing that somebody in my village is doing some jadoo tona and therefore it is impacting me. No, that is where education comes in.
Right.
Education is very important because that is where a game changer, while he was very good, but he could never win an Olympic medal because he had always this fear that something is happening in my village. Something is doing something and therefore I'm not able to perform. So that is one thing. Look at all the other Olympic, while we were going in for that, there the pressure is very high.
Right.
When you're going, you have to win the medal. You have to win the medal. So, the Prime Minister meets you, the President meets you and they greet you. Now that was one-off. And that happens only during the Olympics.
Right.
When you're going for a World Championship, a World Cup, nobody comes and meets us. So therefore, that is a change. But luckily for us, what has happened is the Honorable Prime Minister has started meeting you all continuously.
Right.
So now it's not a baggage for us that, okay, my Prime Minister is meeting me. So that is one change which has happened. It is not happening once in a while. So now you're happening over a period of time. When I come back, win a medal in the World Championship, he calls up. When I'm meeting, when he lose also, he calls up. So therefore, it's not that. So that baggage was very high.
Right.
So that baggage was always. Now what has changed is, if you see the interview of Abhinav Bindra, a very beautiful thing he said. When he went for his second Olympics, he missed out.
Right.
Then he says, I realized one thing, that I needed to detach from the outcome.
Right.
That is the way to win the medal.
Absolutely.
And therefore, he went on the will to gold. What is important is, are you detaching yourself from the outcome? Outcome is a score. Outcome is a medal. When we go there, all the archers, most of the 90% of the sports person are not able to detach themselves from the outcome of a medal, a score. They are thinking about the future. You cannot think about the future. Whether I'll get a job, whether crores of rupees, I'll get that is all future.
Right.
That will only happen if you win a medal.
Right.
So you have not even won a medal and you're thinking about it. So you have to detach yourself. Medal can only come if you do process. That is a change which we are trying to bring in.
It was a very informative session for us, for the audience. And we would like to thank you for being here and sharing your experiences and knowledge with our audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think so. It's pleasure is all mine because I'll get a chance. Maybe people will hear about different, because while we know about cricket, we don't know about many other sports.
Absolutely.
Hopefully the sports podcast people will learn more about archery. More and more archers will join and maybe our country will become more.
We hope that too, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So when 2003, 2004 I started, I became the national champion in compound, started learning, started taking the team abroad, started winning medals. Then after started winning medals, and finally in 2005 and 6 May, we started winning the first world champion, the tribal world champion. Paltan Hansda became the world champion. Jhanu Hansda became the Asian champion. That time Jharkhand came on the world map.